Okay, wonderful. Okay, we are recording. So let's all just take a moment here. Relax in exactly where you are and allow your eyes to gently close. Just easing into this presentness. How wonderful it is that we can gather from all these different places in the world to allow ourselves to recognize the absolute oneness, this divine spirit, this harmony, this love, this peace, this absolute expression of all possibilities and source of all. And we also acknowledge that exactly everything that is one sits inside each one of us. And as I know that I am a perfect expression of that oneness, I know this for everyone present and for everyone. And so we step in tonight with joy. We step into tonight with the experience of openness. We step into tonight with the spirit of catching up, of sharing, of curiosity, of gaining information, of practicing tools, of feeling slightly uncomfortable, and that is perfect, and moving ourselves along this experience of growing our community through business and social outreach. We are open, we are expansive, and we are ready. So with gratitude, I release my word into the law, knowing it is done. And together we can say, and so it is. Oh, we have Alan. Hello, Alan. I love manifesting people. Isn't that great? Doesn't it just feel great? You just open up your eyes and like, woo, look who's here. Someone else is here. This is terrific. So I had sent along with the email, I sent an attachment both today and a few days ago when I sent the notice, the reminder. And so everybody, oh, Alan, I'm going to mute you.
There
we are. Yeah. So I sent along an attachment, which was the preparation sheets for Module 8. So there's a few sheets in there. I just asked that you take a look at doing your elevator pitch, and that we could use that tonight. If there's anything else that you did, that's absolutely fine, but it wasn't necessary. We'll do some of it in the time together tonight. So it turns out to be a bit of a working session, actually. And so as we step in here, I would just like to do a little bit of a touch base with everyone, find out how you're doing, and really let's allow for just a minute to 2 minutes so we can get into the content. But I think it'd be a really good idea if we checked in. So how about we have our newly minted co-minister of New Vision in Phoenix. How about we have you start, Karen? We could all do that with you. Yay. That was a long run.
It has been a crazy month for me. I had 4 weeks of German family in town staying in my house, 11 of them at the height of it. There was a wedding. We went on a vacation. I came back to candidating. And then all of that happened. And since, as of Monday, we are officially the new senior co-ministers of New Vision Center. Yay. Thank you. Feels really good. And Leslie and I had our check-in session today, and 2 hours just flew by. And so lots and lots to do. Very excited to be here. This program is just as timely as could be, and very excited about the news about home office. So thank you. Yay.
Okay, Karen, who would you like to go next? Pick someone to update us. Whoever is okay, I was going to say whoever's over there to you is not over there. Right there for you. Okay. Go ahead.
On my screen, I'm above you, so there you go. only symbolically, not.
Oh, good.
I am doing very well. Everything seems to be going along. I've had some big challenges, and which is something I never liked to deal with at all. And I've dealt with them very well. And so I'm really pleased with myself about that. I mean, people, coming in and having a fit and leaving the church kind of things. And it's like, okay, I wish you well and bless you on your way. That's pretty much it. And I would have thought that would have sent me over the edge before, but it's not. I'm like, okay, I can do this. That was kind of the challenging thing of it that I was worried about. And I worked through it. I actually had to release a practitioner and all of that. So that was a challenge, and I worked through that too. So it was all good. I'm feeling really good about where I'm at right now. So, and I'm over the moon with our new executive director. So I just think that's the most amazing thing we have going here. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. So how about you pick someone next?
Jeffrey, because I haven't heard from him in so long.
I think he's been buried in that new role he has. It's
I
not
think
even
so.
new anymore, but he's still buried.
Yeah, exactly. Coming up for air. Tomorrow I'm teaching at the School of Ministry San Diego campus, teaching First Ministry. So that is very exciting. So I've been deep in the throes of getting that together, deep in the throes of moving and settling into our new home in Riverside. So that's very exciting. And then also preparing to leave for France next week. So it's for a week with Jim Lockhart in Beaujolais at a chateau. So I'm very excited. He said, there will soon be wine. I'm like, yes, thank God, because I've been talking to Stacey Hilton about it too. It's just like, had I known back in September that this is what my life would look like right at this minute, I don't know that I would have done this, but it's all right and perfect. And I'm looking forward to it. So looking forward to the content this evening. I've been working with it already because Reverend Sonia is, we have a staff minister agreement with Reverend Sonia as well. So we've been out and about and doing chamber work and all kinds of stuff. So it's very exciting. And, I'm thrilled about this new executive director person, but, I think she's all right. So, there we go.
Did you say out and about just to please me?
Yes, I did.
Tammy, are you feeling extra comfortable on the call tonight with an out and about reference?
I really am. I'm just feeling so at home.
So Tammy, why don't
Okay. Tammy, why don't you go ahead? Yeah.
So, okay, well, let me just get into my last month. Okay, so my last month, Center for Spiritual Living West Kootenai is undergoing some changes, and one of those changes is that I gave my resignation in the middle of March, not by any ill will, by any stretch, in absolute love, in absolute peace, and absolute joy, because as I've mentioned here before, Steph and I are candidating for places elsewhere, and I felt like I needed to release myself, that I was being anchored, and that I needed to release my energy. And you know what, sure enough, as soon as I gave my notice, all kinds of creativity started bubbling up. And I've been writing poetry that, like, I haven't written that much poetry. I wrote more poetry in the last month than I've written in the past 5 years. So there you go. So that said, in that beautiful process, Steph has also done her own level of releasing and letting go, although she is remaining with CSL West Kootenai until such time as we do finally move on. But in that whole thing, we've also been offered a candidating weekend in California, and not too far from you, Jeffrey, CSL Redlands. And so we're going to be there on Mother's Day weekend, and just have a look at Redlands and see how it goes. And I know, right? I'm doing a happy dance too. I think it's beautiful, and the people that we have spoken with and that we've connected with there are absolutely delightful. And so there's still lots of things to take care of, but you know, spirit's got its way, so I don't need to worry about that so much. And yeah, so that's happening. And gosh, what else? Um, that's pretty big enough for me, I think. So I'm I'm good there. So as far as when doing the homework and looking at what's your elevator speech, I'm like, I get to rewrite an elevator speech. I get to write a new one because I don't really have any idea at this point what the elevator speech for Redlands looks like. So we'll see. We'll learn more as we go along, and I'll keep you all posted.
When
Great.
do you candidate?
What's that?
When do you candidate?
May 12th, Mother's Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're all going to hold that high for you, Tammy and Steph. It's in my calendar for sure. And Tammy, who would you like to go next?
How about Cassandra?
Sure. I am dialing in from Seattle area today. I'm at my sister's house because our house in Portland went on the market just a week ago, and it's been really challenging to show our house while we're still living in it with our little doggies. And so after a week of that, I just decided to come up here and spend a week here. And we did get an offer. And so we're just about under contract. And it's perfect timing because we're looking to close, and the offer was written for June 25th, which is exactly right on target. And it's a lot. It's a lot to move to another country, and we met with our financial planner today, and making this move is going to affect our retirement and our financial position, and you know, just it's stressful with currency translations, and so I'm feeling a lot of I'm not overwhelmed. I'm really not overwhelmed, but I don't have the words at the moment. But I will also say that I'm scheduled to speak and teach at CSL White Rock on May 5th is the next time I'll be there. They don't have an open pulpit yet, but I do look at candidating there coming up soon. And also, in the meantime, you know, I've really been in an inner process for about a year now, which amazes me how long that time, like how fast that time goes by. And I've really been cultivating like what kind of community I want, what I want to do. And so I have launched an online space for my ministerial work, and it's called New Thought Human. And it's really about integrating our human selves with our spiritual selves. And so I've been creating for that. I've been actually working on it, I feel like, for a long time, but it just went more public this last week. And I've started to share that. And so as I even still look toward candidating and being at a center, I just think it's also really important to have my own space where I get to express exactly the kind of ministry I want and beliefs and motivations. And so it's a lot, and I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Who would you like to go next?
That would be Ellen.
Hello. I was going to say, I think I'm the only one left. So.
Oh, no, there's Teresa after you. Teresa's
Oh, that's
patiently
right. Hey,
waiting,
Teresa.
yes.
So, I'm picking up on a theme on everybody's share, and that theme continues both with myself and I'm think you're going to hear the same from Teresa as well. So there's a lot of change going on in my life. So at CSL Metro, I'm now the vice president of the Leadership Council. So that'll be fun. And I think this class, and Sonia, I'll be in touch about some coaching, has been a cog in that whole situation. At the same time, so I live in a small town. I mean, it's a suburb of Washington, D.C. And there's an organization called the Civic Federation, which is basically a coalition of neighborhood organizations. And, we're the voice of the citizen and the leadership, the elected leadership. They come and visit us once a year, the school board, the county board, et cetera, all the elected officials in Congress, et cetera. And so now I've been nominated, and I'm the only nominee for vice president of that organization. So that'll be fun. And I did a lot of work that's in the last year, I won't go into the details, that has gotten a lot of attention in the community. But those aren't even the biggest things. So I'm changing jobs. I start a new job on Monday, this coming Monday. I left my previous job. Tuesday was my last day. I wanted to take the whole week off, but we had an audit coming in, and I was a member of the team being audited. So I thought I'd stay just for that. I've only been at this company for less than 2 years, like 1 year and 3/4. And, it's a federal contractor, right? I worked on a Department of Defense contracts, and, it's a small woman-owned business, and it's a wonderful place to be. It was not what I was planning to do, but an opportunity came up to go back to a career I'd left behind, and there was some bunch of change going on where I am. So I made the decision to go ahead and take that leap into the, back. And it's kind of like Back to the Future. But the big difference is that I have changed completely since I left that career behind. I'm just so much more present and spiritual of a person. I used to be well known for being really good at my job and for my alcohol consumption habits. I'll say that. Now I'm well known for being really good at my job and for my spiritual practice, like literally my spiritual practice. People come to me to learn how to meditate. Sometimes, now as a minister, maybe this is less the case, but like in my line of work, you don't necessarily know the impact you have on people's lives. I mean, I've shown up, I've been who I am, my authentic self, which is maybe more than I have been before. And when I gave notice, people cried. People actually were in tears that I'm leaving this team and this company. And that was humbling, because it tells me that I'm showing up as the right kind of person, the kind of person that I treat for every day. And it's a blessing. And going forward, it's a big unknown for me, because I don't know what it's going to be like on this job, but I do know that I'm going to bring myself to it and my experience. And those are all, those are very positive things. So that's how things have been going for me.
Wonderful. Thank you for that share. So I'm curious to see, you mentioned Teresa might have something to join the theme. Teresa.
Yes. So I want to leave my job too. Alan, right before this call, Alan and I were just talking about it. And I'm like, I called him and I just said, I need to change. I need to go. And and do something. I have another possible opportunity that's really quite amazing, but that in order to move in that direction, whether it's that or something else, I need to just sort of acknowledge that it's time to move. And I think I was listening to a talk by Michael Beckwith on the way home yesterday, and he was talking about relationships, and when it's time to go, and you need to go and move into the next to the next right thing, and that's where I am too. And there's I think it's part of my lesson too. Is I in the past I've tended to just stick around, and because I can do it, and I can prove to myself that I can do it. And now it's like, well, wait a minute, what works for me, and what really brings me joy, and this new opportunity. If I'm going to be, if it turns out, if it doesn't turn out, then I'm going to find one just like it, because this process has helped me understand like what I really love and really want to do, and even and this opportunity presented itself, and it's just in total alignment with who I am and what I want to do. So, it's time to just acknowledge that. And not be muddled about it. Part of my process is I like to talk to my spiritual partners in this life, and Alan is one of them. And I have my posse who I don't do anything alone anymore. But I'm getting my consciousness around this opportunity and what it means. And I really like what you just said, Alan, that you're going to bring your best self to your next adventure. And I can look at it that way. It's like, yeah, I can show up in a really good way. And I can be grateful for the lessons of my current job, all the things that I've learned and the contributions that I've made, and feel good about that, and move. So that's kind of a big thing. And yeah, I was previously, I know I missed a lot of these classes, and that had a lot to do with my work. That was really, really a lot of hours. But I'm here tonight, and glad to be back with you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. So it'll be my estimation that during the 10 modules of this program, that no one will be in the same role by number 10 that they were in by number 1. I think that it's going to be a fact. That's more than I promised. Wonderful.
Including you.
Including me, yes. So yeah, I'll do a quick check-in. So just in the last week, I've accepted the role of executive director for Centers for Spiritual Living. And this has been a conversation that's been about 5 months or so ongoing with the recruitment process, and going into that, and meeting with the 7-member search committee over a period of time, and going through the different layers, and moving into the final round of things. And I actually was in Jordan last week and facilitating a retreat, and was able to connect with them and accept from there. And it was very, very exciting. And it had been a long time that we'd been working on things according to people around me. I was really rather patient in the process, but I was regularly getting emails and texts. So, have you heard? Is anything going on? And I thought, oh, my friends are so supportive, so impatiently supportive. It's wonderful. And then since the announcement went out this week, I've just received so much support. Texts, emails, calls from people all over the world in our organization, just really recognizing the reach of things. And I am also a new minister, so I'm not known to a lot of people, and I'm on the minister listserv, so it's been really interesting to watch the comments. Do you know her? Can we get a picture of her? No, I Googled her. I just go ahead. Look, I don't know her either, but I'm really impressed since I looked her up. And I thought, okay, there's like all good conversations coming out of this. So it was interesting to watch. It's like, I'm on the list too, folks. So it was a bit of fun, and people are finding me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, and lots of great conversations are started. And I've been asked about a date to start. Of course, the role is in Golden, Colorado, which means that I have to move there, which means that I have to do visa paperwork and such. So that's going to take a little while. In the meantime, I have meetings set up with all of the managers reporting in, and I plan to be down in home office to do some face-to-face meetings by about mid-May for a period of time, and I'll know better then. We'll have a date that we can run to probably by then, but in the meantime, just wanted to get going and start the transition with Steve and Tracy. So it's just been fabulous, and my meeting calendar is quite full in the next couple of weeks, and I'm excited to get going on things. I am very, very excited, and it's an absolute manifestation of the things that I talked about for the people that were in school with me, and really, even just around graduation last year, saying, is there a job that I could do that's sort of, interesting and challenging enough? And boy, my mother would say, you got to be careful what you wish for. And I say, we have to be clear what we treat for. And this has been perfect. And it's just starting. So thank you for all the support from this group. And we will do the next couple of modules, and then I do not know where this takes me. So stay tuned. How about we get started? I am on 2 devices tonight. I'm in London, England, and so I'm having a little bit of a glitch with one of the devices. So Reverend Laura has the PowerPoint. She's going to do the share for us, and and we'll do it like that. A bit Vanna, right, Laura? What do you think? A bit Vanna? Okay, like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start up, and we'll get into this conversation. And so if you want to go ahead and share, that would be great. Terrific. So, and I'm just going to go through a couple of slides, and then if there's anything that you want to talk about while I'm still on a slide, just hop out, because I know this one in particular, this module, is going to have us thinking a little bit differently about how we go out in the community, and it's not the way everyone does things, so you might have some questions. So we are in the community growth through social and business outreach. My guess is that we probably do a lot more social outreach than business outreach. And so people might say, what is this business outreach? When I speak about it in any not-for-profit, it's always a question that comes forward. So I'm thinking we're probably not any different from that. And so on the next slide, I just have the list of where we are, and we're at Module 8. So next month, on May 16th, we will do the Fearless Networking. And Fearless Networking is a workshop that I created about 2009, so it's like 10 years old. It's also my most popular workshop, and the one that I'm most asked for, and it's the longest standing workshop that I've created that hasn't really shifted a whole lot. So I'm going to pull some content from that and put it in, and it's a great build on your elevator pitch and being strategic about your choices about where you'd like to do any sort of networking. So tonight and next month kind of sandwich together really, really, really well. And remember the 45-minute coaching sessions. So, my life is going to get busier. This is the commitment I have to you. We will work it out. So how about we pick a date? We were in June. So how about, I'm going to say September 30th. How about we try to have those by September 30th? And I'll put that in an email to you as well, just to give you time to do that, and you'll have a choice of which topics you want to concentrate on. So on the next slide, we have what's happening for us tonight. So we're going to look at our outreach profile, and every center has an outreach profile, although I think probably the organization has an outreach profile as well, which is a roll-up or indicative of what's happening at your local community. We're going to go back to that idea of doing good and doing well, and it's been a thread through the whole spiritual entrepreneurship content that we have here, and looking at our community partners, and I'm putting them sort of in 3 baskets: our interfaith, our other not-for-profit partners, and business partners in your community. And then we're going to look at event participation and being strategic about that, and then the 10 people we need to know, and we'll get you ready for next time. So on the next slide, we have this idea of being strategic about our community outreach. So we're looking at strategic partners, strategic events, and strategic membership. So I'm going to divide it down like that for the purpose of our discussion tonight. And you're going to get copies of these slides in any case. So, and there's a good grid that we'll use as well. Okay, that's fine, Jeffrey. So, and if we'll go to the next slide, our outreach profile. Let's look at our outreach profile. So grab your pen and paper, and we'll do this piece together, and then I'll come off the slides in a moment. So what is our motivation for our outreach activity? I can make an assumption here. I think we can all make an assumption, but there's actually really 4 general reasons, typical reasons to do outreach activity. So we've got sharing our center's resources in service. And I think that's probably one that we really know well. It's probably quite intuitive for us. And we tend to do this. You know, it's that connection to the food bank, and the connection to the shelter, and the connection to the animal clinics and such. And then partnering to better the community. And that can be partnering with other faith organizations, and offering, usually in some sort of combined or consortium way, to better the community. So we're doing things with other religious or spiritual organizations. And then number 3, growing center revenue. And this is one that I think we can spend a little bit of time on tonight, because I think that's not always intuitive for us. And then last, growing center membership. So we want to grow the numbers of people that continuously and continue to come to our center. In each activity, we want to know what our purpose is. So this content tonight is underpinned by the idea of being intentional about how we go out into outreach. And I think quite often we fall into outreach. We fall into different things that we're doing, and out of the goodness of our heart, it's not aligned to any sort of strategy or idea. It's just like someone needs us, and that's absolutely fine. However, it's good to know that we have a plan, and it's good to know that we are intentional, and maybe we actually seek the appropriate outreach activities that fit or complement what's already happening. So our outreach profile, with these 4, I'd like you to put them in the order that represents your center's outreach profile. So what are you likely to do first, or what's happening first, second, third, fourth? So are you sharing your center's resources in service, like 2 other not-for-profits? Are you partnering with other, typically faith-based, but it could be other not-for-profits, to better the community? But interfaith falls in there. Are you growing your center's revenue, or are you growing center membership? So you have done this outreach activity, whatever activities you have. And if you're not in a center right now, it can be the center you were in, or a center you want to be in. And without being consciously intentional, we've actually, through our actions, been intentional and agreeing to do things, whether it feels like it's been random or not. These things come in an order. So just note, what is your number 1, 2, 3, 4? I'm going to flip out of the slide, and we're going to talk in the open group. So thank you very much. Okay, so in the chat, how about you put what has been your top? What is your number 1 motivation for outreach activity, consciously or not, even with any sort of level of intention? What has been your center's number 1 motivation for activity? Growing membership. Okay. Sharing our resources. Okay. Partnering to better the community, interfaith. Okay. It would grow revenue, draw between resources and bettering the community. Okay. And okay. Wonderful. Great. Okay. So perhaps we've never thought about this. What is the lowest one here? What is the last one? And I'm gonna let's go ahead and put that in the chat as well. What is the last one? The one that's least being utilized or the least being drawn upon? Growing membership. Okay. Okay.
Now we're talking about in our outreach activities.
In your
right?
outreach activity, of these 4 kinds of outreach activities, 4 motivations for activity. Okay, Teresa, that was most. I gotcha. Your membership, okay. Okay, growing revenue. Yeah, I think it's pretty common for us to share our center's resources and to partner to better the community. And I'm just going to call it out, and Teresa, at least sharing resources, okay? And I'm just going to call it out that as part of a larger conversation that we've been having in this set of modules under spiritual entrepreneurship, we can say that around the money conversation and around that sort of topic, that the growing revenue and growing membership can feel a little salesy, can feel a little inauthentic, can feel like something we're not used to. We might even have belief systems about it around that's not what faith-based organizations do, that's not what centers or churches do. And yet I'm pretty clear that I hear that most people want it. Like most centers would like more members and they'd like more money, but we're not doing the things, not walking towards the things that would give us more revenue and a higher level of membership. Next week when I'm in Newfoundland, I'm doing my last workshop there for an entrepreneurs group, and it's called Warming Up Your Cold Call. And it's a workshop that I created a number of years ago. And really what it does is it moves people from feeling very schmoozy and inauthentic and false and salesy in growing their business over to something that is an awareness campaign. And we've talked about that in an earlier module around, people can't know that they need you if they don't know that you exist. So if you focus at creating awareness and then just stop there, I'm creating awareness and the people that want to know about us come back, then we can move into a higher level of revenue and membership opportunities. But offering without expecting anything back in 100% of the work that we do doesn't ask for that to come back. So it's, an intentional reciprocity, sending it out. And we do things like rentals and go out with the food bank and such, and they're beautiful. And sometimes business comes back, but we don't take it to that next step and say, hey, we have something that we want to share with you. And so we can provide these services for you and your organization. And that conversation has a financial piece to it. So we're going to look at that here. Cassandra, you were saying that at your last center, the least kind was bettering the community. It wasn't that it wasn't important, but we were so stretched, so we did very little activity. Yeah, stretched so thin. Understandable. I hear that. And conversely, I also hear we're stretched so thin, so we can't go do the revenue generating stuff. We're stretched so thin, but we're finding ways to join the food bank and whatnot. I realize that's not what you're saying there, but I do hear that from centers. And I think it is that we haven't grown the skill set and the ability and the comfort to do this. So I'd love it if more people could benefit from what we're going to talk about here tonight. So let's go to the next screen. We're going to look at the doing good and doing well. So have your pen and paper, and we'll come back together in just a moment. So the next slide that we have is doing good and doing well. So I asked you this way back at the beginning. So without looking for what you had at that time, go ahead and just off the top of your head, document a few things here It's sort of two columns. How do we do good and do well in our community? So let me count the ways. So ways that we know that we're doing good, and that is offering our good and our services out in the world, and then how we're doing well. So some things that we know that are bringing in income that allow us to be able to continue to do more of the do good. It's a circle. So just go ahead and document that. Okay. And so on the next screen, the next slide, sorry, Laura, I ask you to consider the balance of doing good and doing well. So if you were, based on what you're just seeing there right now, your own list that you created, what is the ratio of doing good activities versus doing well? And so I've just put this 70-30 concept here, but I'd like to go, let's exit the slides for a moment and go back into the room here. And so if we have doing good as one percentage and doing well, go ahead and put your percentage in the chat. Doing good, doing well. So if 50% of your activities is doing good and 50% is doing well, put that in. If it's 90% doing good, like we're offering our good with no expectation, and 10% is doing well, we're doing work that allows us to bring in an income, go ahead and do your split of your outreach activities. Okay. Got 40-60 of Laura. Alan is 30-70. And I put up 30-70 on the screen, and that was just an example. Although I'm going to say, oh, Tammy, 90 doing good, 10 doing well. Okay. We actually aren't doing good activities, Teresa, other than putting cool stuff on our website. Okay. Okay. And okay. So Cassandra has a question about the breakdown. Laura, do you want to go ahead and answer, just provide us with an explanation of how you came to your answer with your doing good, doing well?
Well, the doing good, it seems to be the focus of what we've done. All of our outreach stuff has been that. So it had to be a larger percentage, but we're financially stable. So I think we must be doing well, at least in some of the aspects that we're, what we're doing to get ourselves out there. Somehow is keeping us stable. So that's why I didn't make it a larger percentage of doing good, but most of the outreach stuff that we do is about working with local groups, working with the interfaith community, that kind of stuff, where we're providing services to the community, as opposed to, benefiting in membership or money here at our center.
What was an example of a doing good outreach activity that you have?
We've partnered with a homeless shelter that it's called Switch Point. It's a local organization that helps feed the homeless. And we just recently partnered with, it's called Youth Futures, which is a shelter for 12 to 18-year-old children. And so we're working with those. And we also are very active in the interfaith community. I've been to several different things around community where I've participated as a minister in those activities.
Okay, and what's a do well that you have?
I really don't, other than, like I said, we're financially stable. So I don't really know I'm not real clear on what you're looking for there.
Yeah. So with the do well activities, these would be things that you're charging for that bring in money. So some of the do well, I mean, naturally the ask in the service on Sunday is a do well activity. And then offering our courses is a do well inside our community. The minute that we go outside of our immediate community, we're in outreach. So if we're offering meditation classes at the hospital, or we're offering a workshop out to the police for mindfulness, for instance, then we're starting to get into do well stuff. And our rentals, soliciting rentals, these are things that end up in the do well column. Does anyone have an example of a do well that can help us also here?
Well, now that I'm clearer on what it is, that I know we have a workshop almost every weekend of some sort or another, and a lot of them are people that are renting our space, not necessarily members of our congregation. So we've had, sound healing and flute concerts and Native American flute concerts and lots of different things like that. We're having a diabetes clinic on Friday and so forth.
Okay. And how about Alan? You had a do well percentage. What's an example of a do well activity?
Well, our social media presence is I think it's not dreadful. We need to do more. In fact, that's kind of what I'm spearheading. We're trying to spearhead now that I'm on the leadership council.
Yeah.
We've been the host to like a what do you call it? A retreat, like the annual retreat for like this whole region. Our minister was the host for that. So I think there's some outreach to other congregations.
Great.
Not a lot, but at least a little bit to kind of the broader sense.
Thank you. Reverend Karen, do you have an example of a do well in your area?
Yeah, we are rocking the social thing because we have Reverend Leslie here, and so she is amazing at that. And we hear so often from people that they come because of that, so they hear about it. I was thinking about our new free morning meditation, which is definitely a doing good thing. And we have noticed that people, because of it, are coming to the services. So I don't know, that kind of feels doing well also. So it's like both, actually.
Great, thank you. So the kind of do well activities that we have are often generated inside the centers as well. So one of the things that we do hesitate to do is to bring our offerings out into the world. So I have in the package that I sent you, there's the My Centers offerings, okay? And I have it here on a slide, but I don't even think we need to go to the slide because it's the three circles that intersect. So what I'd like you to do is just write for the purpose of our exercise here, but take it deeper afterwards, is one thing that you offer, that you offer, that could fit into these three circles of your strategic partners. So you have the interfaith community. So these are other faith-based environments in your community. You may belong to the interfaith council in your community. So what is an example of something that you have or could offer inside that group as a partner? And then the not-for-profits, I've got NFP, they're not-for-profits. So the other not-for-profits, so these are the other do-good organizations in your area. What is an example of something that you could offer to them, that you could maybe partner or offer to them from the community, something that you have that you think that they would like to have? I know in Toronto we started doing mindfulness meditation for women's shelter in the neighborhood, for instance. And then over on the business side, what is something that we offer that you may have already offered it out in the business community, or something that you think that could be a good fit to step outside of our center and go do somewhere else. Okay. Okay. Alan says, I really like Steph's social media presence. I look at it as a model. Are you talking about Tammy's wife? Okay, yeah. Well, she will love hearing that, Tammy.
I just added in the chat that I could revise my numbers, I think, from 90-10 to 70-30 based on Steph's social media presence, because she is doing both doing good and doing well in those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see that. Do good and do well, and put this at social media. So Karen is like, where is she getting the energy from?
She says God.
She's always so enthusiastic. I love that.
I'm always imagining caffeine, but I know that not to be the truth. Okay, so let's have a conversation here about some ideas, some offerings that either you have done or that you know could be offered out. So an example of an interfaith offering, an offering out into the interfaith community. Someone have an example, maybe something they've already done? Yes, Alan?
So there's an interfaith walk every year, and our center is part of that. And it's really a way of getting not just the word out there about CSL in general, because a lot of people don't know anything about the Centers for Spiritual Living or the Science of Mind. And so participating in that walk is way in general. And then also Rev Trish has relationships with some of the other leaders on the Interfaith Council locally. So some of them come in to give talks at our center regularly.
Wonderful. So how about not-for-profits, other not-for-profits? An example of someone who has done work with another not-for-profit, an offering that they've had in their community?
So we've been working with Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity, and I was involved with, or I led the last prayer vigil up at Adelanto for undocumented workers, asylum seekers who are there. And then this last one, there was a focus on, we have currently a U.S. veteran who is in Adelanto, and they're threatening to deport him back to Guatemala. And he left Guatemala when he was 9 months old. So that was one way that we're able to partner with other nonprofits.
Okay, so I'm hearing prayer, leadership, bringing community, and I think you do accompaniment support, right?
Yes, accompaniment support as well.
Offerings, okay. I think Tammy had her hand up and Karen as well. Go ahead.
So some of the, we've also done some interfaith where we've partnered to do like a solstice, a labyrinth walk, that kind of a service in that way, a meditational solstice labyrinth walk. We have, but with the not-for-profit, we have supported our local Circle of Indigenous Nations Society in doing programming like, there's a truth and reconciliation process that they were working on, which is called the blanket exercise. So we supported that. And that was also interfaith as well, because we partnered with the United Church for that. And supporting the Indigenous Society for that. And then we've also done some work partnering with LGBTQ plus organizations to support things like the Pride flag raising in Castlegar, which we supported the very first Pride flag raising here, which it just floored me that it had never been done here before. And we were there for the first one, which was lovely. And as well, just any of the other sorts of events that the LGBTQ plus community comes up with in the area, that we are always there to offer support and resources, a lot of times resources for that.
Okay, thank you. Karen, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, so we have it set up that we have 4 outreach partners every year, 1 per quarter. And for the ones that we are partnering with, the nonprofit, we share our tithes. They get 2% of all of the tithes that are coming in.
For that quarter.
For that quarter.
Okay. That's a great example of being very intentional about our alignment. And then, if other organizations come to you, it doesn't mean you'll say no to them, but you have a filter then to put them through. You have an experience of having been intentional. I really like that. Let's go to the business offering. And so when we're talking about our connection work in outreach, in not-for-profits, and in the interfaith, it's very easy for us to talk about who we've partnered with. I want to get to the core of what we're actually offering. So has anyone offered a service to a business in their area? Does someone have an example of that? Okay, so if we were to offer what we offer at the center out to organizations and their employees around your community, what are some of the kinds of things that you think could be offered out there? Now, there's no commitment in saying this, we're just sort of brainstorming and thinking a little differently. What could people benefit from? Laura?
Like workshops on conscious communication.
Perfect, yeah. Okay.
Well, I thought about going to Discover Card. They have a headquarters right here. My daughter works there, and offer our online 15 minutes in the morning meditation free to them, just as a perk.
Wonderful. Tammy's mindfulness practices, yes. Jeffrey, you had your hand up as well?
Visioning, because we can always tailor the language of visioning to be very secular. In fact, I did it with the interfaith group the other day, and because we have atheists there, it was very non-spiritual. the languaging was very tailored to, across the board.
Yeah. More and more, I've tried using this visualization or visioning processes, or a combined piece. And I've had a couple hundred people in a conference room in a hotel with a sheet that I had created for them with, the blocks they write their stuff in, and walking them through one question at a time, where the room is completely silent and they're writing their own answer. And I call it, personal reflection before we get started on the day, for instance, and walking them through a process for between 10 and 20 minutes and having them all actually do it. And I'm looking out at, a couple hundred people thinking, you don't even know that you are in spiritual practice right now. I am not going to scare you by telling you what this is. But it's an awesome business tool, because it gets them to center and be in the room, and it gets all of the woolies out, any of the crazy thoughts they have and the questions and whatever they, I'm afraid to say this or whatever, and it dumps it all out. So then you have a more clear and centered vessel inside each person to step into whatever the activity is during the day, and you loop in the questions you asked, some of them in that visualization into the activities of the day. It's an amazing experience to watch this, and people will say, I wanted you to come back and do this because we really like that exercise. And I'm thinking, wow, that's the thing that they liked. So we can definitely, package and offer. And I want to say package, I don't mean to be false. We don't have to do anything different than what we're already doing. We're sensitive to all kinds of people stepping inside our doors. So we don't have to reference religious terms necessarily. If we knew that our audience for a particular day or an event or a workshop, or if we're going out, we always ask who's in the room. We want to know, and we're sensitive. So there isn't anything particularly false about that unless you're asked to be overtly false or you feel overtly false. And there's a difference between feeling false to do this and just not having had the experience of doing it before. Like there's a little discomfort of something new versus, the false. So just quickly, I'm going to go on to the slide and just show you these slides, and we're going to come back to our group. So Laura, can you go back to the slides? I'm just going to look at the next couple with everyone so you can see the way that I'm putting this together. Okay, so we had the ratio, and we'll go to the next slide. Okay, don't go back, but thinking back to the ratio, I'd like you to get intentional about that as we move through. By the end of tonight, kind of think about where you'd want it to be if you could. So my center's offerings, you can work with your group, your team in any way you want, and in those circles or around those circles, come up with the offerings. So I heard prayer, I heard mindfulness practice, I heard visioning, so there's all these the activities that we're doing, and the circles intersect because there might be some things that you can do in the not-for-profit world that you can also do in the business world, like maybe the mindfulness piece. Maybe the faith-based people don't need that particularly, but if you have another skill set that you're doing, or rental, or all of this. So we'll go to the next slide, where what I've asked you to do is your primary partners. Those came out really easy in our discussion just a moment ago. So write down an example right now of an interfaith partner that you would have. So a group that you would work with in your community, maybe someone you already have, a group you've already worked with, or one that you think would be a really good alignment. Interfaith, a not-for-profit, and a business. And a business, what I suggest for people to do is to look at either humanitarian-based businesses or businesses that do good, if that is something that's really important to you. So there might be a green or sustainable business in your town. Also, the easiest thing to do is to look at the biggest employer in your town, because they have the biggest number of employees. And so going to offer something like what Reverend Karen's going to do with Discovery Card, that's a huge, I'm picturing, I think I've driven by the building, that's a big building. So the chances of it being desirable for a big group, it sort of increases the chances. So not-for-profit and a business. Now, this is no level of commitment, it's just thinking about things a little bit differently than we typically do. And so, Reverend Laura, if you can go to the next slide. And then what I'm going to leave you with around this, and this is a great activity for you to do with your people, is looking at these, breaking it down even further to do good and do well partners. So in each of these, you may have a do good and a do well. So even Karen's example of Discovery Card as a business, she's wanting to go do a do good activity and offering free 15-minute morning mindfulness practice. That's a do good activity for that partner, and it might result in a do well. So can you come in and teach an hour and a half once a month, and that would be a do well activity. So there would be a paid component to that. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. We're going to shift to the event participation. There's some events that you're already doing. So I'd like you to be strategic about your event participation in terms of your outreach. 4 key considerations. What is our purpose? Let's going back to right at the beginning of our time together tonight. Do not go into any level of outreach activity without knowing what your motivation is for that. What is the purpose to do that? So our purpose, our alignment, is it aligned with our values? Is it aligned with what our community wants to do? Does it represent our community? The audience, is it the right audience? Is it an audience that we know really well because they represent our demographic? Or is it an audience that we want to invite more in? Is it an audience of a particular culture or ethnic background? Or we're looking for musicians and their musicians, or we're looking for youth and their youth? So is there an audience consideration here? And then the last is resources. Do we have enough people, enough marketing materials, enough finances to step into doing this particular outreach and looking at one of the resources that I would want you to have planned is, what do we do afterwards? So the follow-up opportunity is where we have an opportunity also to convert a do good to a do well. So there's a follow-up opportunity to thank people. So you need someone to be able to thank, or email people to thank them. So thanking, checking in, letting them know what's coming up. We have workshops. We have, letting them know. We have rental. If anything was collected, like names or interest level in anything, in contact cards, anything like this, anything that you are doing, if you're going to send something back, there needs to be the resources afterwards. So having any kind of event, it's great to build in some sort of follow-up, but then you also have to build in the people to do the follow-up, or else it falls on the faces that I'm looking at right now. And I know we know that well. Okay. So you can name 5 events in your community that you must include in your center's presence. So you must be there. Okay. And so Reverend Laura, can you take us out of the slide presentation? And thank you so much for coming around to the last pieces here. So that is a different way of thinking about your event. So some of them like roll off your tongue. And then when you look at it though, from the lens of, what circle does that partner fit in? What's my purpose for being there? What kind of follow-up can we do? Is this consciously, intentionally, I'm going to make this a do good activity, like we're doing it, and whatever comes back, we're open. And if it's a do well activity where we're stepping into it going, you know what, we want to put a value on this, and we want to have something come back to us, and we want to offer it out. And so that you set up that intention ahead of time. It's been a great conversation on the listserv recently around pricing for ceremonies. And someone said, we said love offering, and then we got nothing. So we now don't say love offering. And so it's just different wording and people playing with what can work for their community around ceremonies. And we probably all have sort of an opinion or a set of experiences around what that would look like and when it comes to ceremonies. But same thing happens in any sort of outreach activity that we're doing. Now, I have the screen up, and I know you got the sheet for the 10 people I need to know. So go ahead and take that sheet out, and that is something that I've given to you. And I'd like you to go through, and you can just tick them off in the left-hand column, and then you can use this sheet as an exercise sheet out with your group. But go ahead and tick if you know the name of this person and you've actually met this person, like met them, shake their hand, they know you, they know that you run that center across town. So we're looking at your city council or your local level of government person at the municipal level, and then the mayor, so like the highest person in your particular city or town, the director of your hospital, your local hospital, the director of the food bank, the director of the shelter, whether that's women, children, men, etc. The healthcare chaplain, so the chaplain at the hospital or healthcare center or age center, so the healthcare chaplain, the director of the Interfaith Council, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and the director of the largest funeral home or the closest funeral home, and then the head of your primary local business, so that largest employer in your neighborhood, and maybe there's others that you know. So go ahead in the chat, out of the 10, can you please put the number of people that you can name and know and have met and shaken the hand of? 3, okay. Seven, 6, okay. There was no prize for this, by the way. I should have put that right up front. There's no prize. Just 2, okay. So, well, Reverend Karen, now that you are fully in place, go get busy. You have a license to get busy. And Cassandra, you're going to be busy. Maybe by module 10. No pressure. Okay. So I just want to open the conversation for a couple of minutes here. Thoughts around this list of people? Anything surprise you about this list of people? Does it feel like, maybe I want to go out and do that? Anything in there as a reaction? I see you.
I like to say I am so excited for the last two council meetings. I've been saying, because ministerial outreach falls on my side of our org chart, and I've said I want to identify who I want to get in contact with. But man, there's my list right there, and I can. I don't know that I'm going to reach out to the mayor, but maybe I'll go down and offer a prayer for our sessions in downtown Phoenix. So,
okay. So let me, the mayor is an interesting one. When you and Reverend Leslie have your installation, the mayor should receive an invitation. Like anything where the mayor can come, where there's a special event and they can cut a ribbon, say a word, support you. Like this is, and the Interfaith Council president, the Chamber of Commerce president, this is part of what they are paid for or part of their volunteer role in your community. So it shows support. What I have seen done is on a tablet like I'm on today, putting together even like a 5 or 6 slide deck, which you can like have with you on your own, walking into any place, make an appointment to go in and see any of these people and just say, hey, this is what we do. This is where we are. And these are the things we offer in your community. So go back to your 3 circles. We offer mindfulness. We offer rental location. We offer if you say non-denominational spiritual practice, whatever you say in their interfaith spiritual practice, and I know everyone has a different way of saying this in their community, what works for your group. And so you can actually, step in. You have a business card and you're in the community, and many of these people serve in the community and you're part of the community. And I don't think we think that way going out. Any other reactions to this list? Okay, some phone calls happening next week. It's absolutely the kind of people that can support you and should know that you exist, because they will have people who require your services and may actually want to send people to you or want you to come out into their community. But it's important to know the funeral home for referrals. It's important to know the hospital for referrals, the chaplain in case there's anything that's going on. It's just wonderful to be able to do this reciprocal work and to just generally feel like your circle is growing outside the doors of where you are. So this is a bit of a cheat sheet here on where to go and who to chat with. So I'm going to move on to the next piece of that, which is strategic memberships. So Tammy, this is brilliant. I've been envisioning doing wonderful, wonderful. So skill testing question. We'll be asking you after Mother's Day, who is the mayor of Redlands, California?
I may not know it yet right after Mother's Day, but I tell you, within a month of me being there, I will have names in all of those. So his name is Paul. His name is Paul, Steph says.
She heard the comments about her energy earlier, didn't she, too? She was in the room.
She might have been, or the other room.
Okay. So I did promise you at the beginning we would talk about being strategic in 3 ways: strategic partnerships, strategic events, and strategic membership. So let's look at the membership piece. And if you're having the reaction of like, holy crap, Sonia, like I'm busy in my own office where no one can come in and find me out in the community, by the way. And now you're going, the mayor doesn't even know I exist. And now you're going to tell me that I need to go and be a member of something? Oh, and a board member maybe of something? Like, woo, crazy. So strategic memberships. Where are you a member? As you representing the center as the minister or leader, or you as the center. So my center XYZ is a member of, or I am a member of, or I am as the minister a member of. So I would love to see in the chat if you have places that you're a member of. I know Jeffrey's a member of Chamber of Commerce because I've been to the meeting with him at some like god awful hour in the morning that required lots of coffee. So I know Chamber of Commerce is one, but any other besides the Chamber of Commerce that your group, you or you as a minister is a part of? Okay, Interfaith Council. Okay, any others? AG&T, okay. Chamber of Commerce, okay. Great.
I would like to ask Jeffrey, how is that working for you to be part of the Chamber of Commerce?
It's fairly new, thanks to Reverend Sonia, but it's actually working well. We've found our IT support through Chamber of Commerce. We're able to purchase things through Office Max and Office Depot at 10%. We get discounts, benefit discounts from that. Going and meeting folks, people know who I am. It's more about the networking and getting my name out there. Part of it as a result, meeting other people who are on boards of nonprofits or not-for-profits, attorneys, business people that we can then turn and count on or rely on or ask questions of, and who can kind of do the same with us. So it is working out. It's something that, you know, it does take some practice and some like showing up to things, you know. And there's here in Riverside, we have a very active chamber. So there are lots of things to be able to show up to. It's just a matter of kind of picking and choosing which ones and getting out there name recognition, both your own name as well as the center. And in that venue, I'm just Jeffrey Ryan. I'm the executive director of the center, the local Center for Spiritual Living.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about how we pitch differently.
Yeah, so that it's that way. Oh, there must be more centers for spiritual living, but I'm the executive director of the local Center for Spiritual Living.
Yeah, because I'm the executive director of the Centers for Spiritual Living.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just remembered that. It's very new.
I can help you out with that.
Yeah, interfaith groups are something that I'm the spiritual director, right? And then in certain other clergy groups, then I'm the pastor. The language changes, the title changes for what is this group that I'm speaking to.
So you saw that I gave you 3 sets of boxes to align with these 3 typical community partners: an interfaith elevator pitch, a business elevator pitch, and a not-for-profit elevator pitch. And Jeffrey, you know, he's hit on that what you say you are and what you say you do changes. And it is not enough for the person that you're speaking to reiterate your mission or your vision. And, you know, we have a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all. So if we are in a business setting and we say that that's what our center does, people can't get that. So we kind of have to bring it down to it's comprehensible to the person in front of us. So I know when Jeffrey was talking about the Chamber of Commerce, we've been to like a shoestring marketing session there. And we also met the superintendent of the local school board and looked at the adopting a school and taking part in 1 million acts of kindness. I think I have the little notebook right here. I'm writing on it tonight. 1 million acts of kindness in Riverside County. So these would be like do good things. Sorry. And so when you look at the memberships, being strategic about where you are a member is also really important. And maybe the 3 memberships might actually be like a business kind of membership and another not-for-profit kind of membership and an interfaith membership to cover off all your 3 areas. The bottom one is the one that I'll probably get the most pushback on, and that's being part of another board. How about that for an idea? What if you were on the board of a shelter or a board of like the Girl Guides or the Boy Scouts or the Pride Committee? You know, being on the board of another place places you squarely out in the community and gives you something else to talk about too. So it's a consideration. Has anyone been on the board of another place? Like, because being on our own board is not like enough to do, right? Yeah, Tammy, what board were you on?
I was on the board for the Castledar Pride Society,
Okay.
and also for the Kootenai Pride when we were living closer to Nelson.
Okay. And Jeffrey?
I currently sit on the board of the Riverside Interfaith Council.
Great. So a very strategic place. Okay, so just being intentional about what we plan here. Just in our last piece here together tonight, Reverend Laura, I'm going to ask that you pop up the slides for me, and I'm going to go down a few. We've been through this stuff. Okay, and we can go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And here we are. We're prepping for networking. I'm prepping you to get ready for the next round, the next module. So I'll go to the next slide, and you've got that elevator pitch going on. The one I really, really want you to practice for next time is that business partner in the community, okay? So business partner community, what you would say, you're going to probably easily be able to do the interfaith one and easily be able to do the not-for-profit one. And then you're going to build to the place of having the business partner elevator pitch. So your name is the easiest part. And then your role might be different. Like you might say that you are the leader of a local not-for-profit. You might say that you are the spiritual director. You might say that you are the minister, the pastor, the reverend. So this can all change depending on the person standing in front of you and what is going to be palatable to them, and you're staying in integrity. And so we are, or I am, our organization is, so we are and that might change slightly too, because if it's in the interfaith environment, you might be talking about the faith or philosophy, and then we do the following. And so think of the things that you do, and you had some of this in your offering. So we're providing service, a Sunday service, and community. We're providing teaching, workshops, personal development, professional development, self-development, whatever wording there lands well for you and the person in front of you. So that business partner pitch is probably the least comfortable one. So this is why I want to make sure that you've got that one done. And if you get a chance to try it out, great, but at least have it down there. Try it out with a few people if you can, whether you're actually out in community or try it out with someone there inside your organization. So I'll take the next slide, Laura. We're almost done here. So here's some guidelines for outreach, and I'm going to send this to you as well. So this is just in general outreach. And outreach is not having people at your center. Outreach means you need to leave the parking lot. Okay? Yeah, I know. You really have to leave the parking lot? So be intentional about partnerships. Then you won't feel like you're wasting your time, because you're only going to choose things you want to do. You're only going to choose things that are good for the center. And sometimes what is good for the center is something you actually want to do. And that's kind of nice when that lines up. And you're only going to do things in the time that you plan to do it and make the commitments to what you say yes to. So being intentional allows it to happen in a pretty efficient and effective way. Cultivating partnerships in all three categories. We have stuff to offer in business, okay? And then network. So network, communicate, and contact regularly with your partners. So when you meet partners, you're going to start adding them into your social media. You're going to start adding them into your conversations. Find reasons for you to be connecting with them. You can grow your partnerships without having to do a whole lot, just being the natural interest in you. And plan your center's do good, do well ratio. So if you said 60-40 today or 70-30, and that's what you mean, then kind of think about that. It becomes a filter for activities, kind of like what Karen said about having the 4 different fundraising pieces tithing pieces, so the 2%. So they have an organization every quarter, and that's intentional, and that allows the conversation to be filtered. When you're intentional and you have a plan, you're going to allow the conversation to be filtered. Do we want to invite more do good in or more do well? Choose 3 strategic memberships in your community, and be in service on one board is a really good idea. Now, I'm not going to mandate this, but this is actually, the way that we can get out beyond our doors, and you'll find that it's reciprocal. So things start coming back in without a whole lot of effort. Just your awareness campaign includes this. Design marketing materials that tell your community outreach stories. So things that you have, pictures of, things that you've done well, and even yourself or another person, put them in a slide deck and maybe end the slide deck with the things that you offer. And then, you've got a great slide deck there, a little history, some great pictures, and what you offer. And you can bring that into anyone. Show the mayor, hey, look, this is a little bit about us, okay? I'm a big fan, Cassandra says, of asking people what their biggest challenges are, what their needs. That is perfect. That is textbook networking and business development. I love it. So let's go to the last slide here, and then we'll come back into the group here. So what's next? Prepare your elevator pitch and practice it over the next month. So begin to consider your strategic partnerships, your events, and your memberships, and bring other people into this conversation if you want to in your center, and bring along your strategic partner list. So earlier I asked who you would be in those 3 categories: interfaith, not-for-profit, and business. Who would be ideal partners in your neighborhood? And so we're going to do some practice with your elevator pitch in the Fearless Networking workshop next month. Okay, so we can exit now. Let's go back into the larger room and then wind down. We're about at time in any case. So Cassandra, the biggest challenge is what their needs are and how we might support them is perfect. And folks, that's a great conversation flow. Because sometimes we feel like we're in there and we're all jazz hands. I do this, we do this, we're great. Here's some more about us, and some more. Did I tell you this? And we feel like we're talking about ourselves, but really, taking that pause and asking about them and what their biggest challenges are and their needs are. Because as you're hearing that, you're thinking, I could offer them this, I could offer them this, and maybe I'm not going to do that today, but I'm going to go away and say, hey, you mentioned that you had a challenge with this. We might be able to partner to do something. Or I have 2 other organizations that I think you might want to hear from. So even being that connector is something that's more possible when you have a conversation like the way Cassandra's describing it. So your challenges, your needs, and then what we might do to support them. Okay. So as we wind down here tonight, I just want to open it if there's any comments about the content and the way that it was positioned in terms of those 3 categories and some ideas in your scary 10 list as well. Happy to hear anything if you have a comment or a question.
Brilliant stuff. I like it. I like the top 10 list. I think that's going to be really helpful for us moving forward. And it's been something that's been really present for me and on my mind. How do I integrate myself into a new community? And one of the first things that has been really present for me is who do I need to get to know, and what's the most efficient and effective way to do that?
Yeah, invite all those 10 people to your installation, to any holiday gathering, any big public thing, picnic, appreciation, just invite them and they'll start receiving invitations from you. It'll be amazing what opens up and widens your circle. Another comment? Laura?
Well, I think this is it's given me such a direction to go. I'm so thrilled with this. I think this has been one of the most beneficial nights that we've had. It's just been phenomenal. I have tons of notes here about what to do now with this.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Cassandra. Oh, and if you host did I do that like onomatopoeia here? And if you host an event, you can provide free tickets to key people in the community. Perfect. Yes. I'm part of an event with the Positive Thinkers Club. We're having our 30th anniversary in Newfoundland. It's the closest thing we have to a Center for Spiritual Living. And so I was in charge of reaching out because, it's what I do. So I reached out to, Justin Trudeau, our Lieutenant Governor, the Premier of the province, down to then like the mayor, and then down to the councillors, etc., and then some key other people in our community. And what we did was, if they were coming, they could come for free. And then the second person, we offered a discount, a seniors rate discount or 50% discount if they wanted to bring a second person, so that we still did well-ish in it. And yeah, that's a way to do it. But although comping 2 tickets is fine as well. Okay. Okay. So how about we anchor this in prayer? We'll close off. Does anyone feel particularly called to close this out tonight?
Sure.
Yay, Cassandra, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just breathing it in, knowing that the wisdom that's shared, the love that's shared, the connection, that it is alive in each one of us, alive in the right and perfect ways, knowing that the ideas that are needed for our specific areas of growth and our specific communities, that it is nourished and bubbles to the surface in the exact right and most creative moments. And so I just give thanks. I give thanks for each contribution, each question, each bit of wisdom, each worksheet, knowing that this content lives forever in all the ways that it is needed. And I'm grateful for that infinite energy of the universe that fuels each one of us, even all night long, for all that needs to be done. And I just let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. And I've got about 20 minutes to have a tea and a snack, and I'm on with Jack Freeze.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.